All right. Good evening. Today we have Danielle Hendricks. Danielle is a Colorado Springs native who graduated from Harrison High School and then went on to get her bachelor's in psychology from Coe College. On her returning from her undergraduate studies, she was committed to coming back to her hometown and finding ways to return the investment that the community made in her. She was able to begin that journey with an incredible experience of the El Palmar Foundation Fellowship and is continuing her support for the Colorado Springs community through her current roles as the Community Outreach Specialist at Diversis Health and as a Resident Relations Specialist at Working Fusion. Thank you very much, Danielle.
Thank you. I didn't realize I was going to be read. How embarrassing. Hi, everyone. How are you all? Good evening. Doing well. Seeing some thumbs up. Great. Good. All right. Well, we're talking about something this evening that I'm pretty sure all of you are familiar with. That's stress. Yay. We all have it. We all know what it looks like. But just really want to see where you all are at handling your stress, dealing with it, whether we have some positive coping skills, some negative ones, and how we can start to build up that resiliency toolbox to make sure that all of the resources that we have in the community and things that you may not even realize that you can do for yourself, you're aware of those things and you can start to build those together when you feel yourself being overwhelmed and how to pull back from some of those things. So I'm gonna share my screen here. And I'm also going to hook up to this so I can see a little bit better. Sorry if I start to tilt you guys. Okay. All right. So, do you all know, like, how would you define stress? What does that look like for you all? If people want to share out or put in the chat, feel free. Ideas? How we overwhelmed? Yeah. Too much to do.
Just dealing with a lot of anxiety about a situation.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm gonna share this.
I would say pressure that is more than the typical day or situation, just additional pressure beyond normal.
Yeah. Absolutely. Additional pressure. Anything else? And someone's going to share in the chat with me what people are saying as well. Oh, I can look at it too. Overwhelmed, being late, pressure. Yeah, particular things, finances, huge stress inducer, right? Sickness, absolutely. Kids, feeling overwhelmed. I am the stress for my mom, so I'm not on the other side of that yet. So I'm sorry. We don't mean it, and we love you because you love us through it. So appreciate it. Family, personal relationships, yes. Pressure to be perfect, that's huge. Yeah, expectations. Physical, yeah, trauma, huge. Chaotic world, absolutely. Yeah. Feeling like I can't handle what's happening, whether it's good or bad. Yeah. No worries. And so, oh, and this says Lynn Schul, but this is me. So that's okay. So thank you all for participating, and I'm going to continue to try and monitor the chat as we go. And so the ways that we sort of define stress is the emotional and physical tension that you feel, and it has overwhelming thoughts. Your mind is constantly racing, you're constantly thinking through this, that, and the next, right? It's our body's reaction to when we're challenged, when something demanding happens, when something feels like it has to get figured out right then and there. So stress overall is a spectrum, right? It can be positive. And what are some positive things about stress that when you feel it, it can be a good thing? What are some positives to stress? I'm going to keep the chat open and looking at it. Exciting events, gets moving. Yeah.
Are we supposed to talk and tell you, or do you want us to type it?
You can do both. If you want to share out, if you feel good sharing out, feel free.
Okay, I would say some positive ways you can have stress is to get work done on time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pay
Stress
your bills on time.
Right.
Things that you need to do.
Absolutely. Stress is a huge motivator. It also, yeah, allows us to be excited about things, you know, it allows us to, you know, get into things. Motivated, plan ahead. Yeah. So I think you all hit on the most important one, right? Stress is there to push us every once in a while. I live right next door to Procrastination Station. A lot of times I'm doing things right up to the line of when they need to get done. But that stress, that pressure just adds, and it helps me push through some of those things. So we see it on the positive side, but for you all, when do you see it become, well, I'll ask that in a minute because I want to ask what you notice, but we know stress can be overwhelming. We talked about that early on. And so when we think of this, we also think of adrenaline and cortisol will flood our systems when we get in a fight or flight or freeze moment, right? So adrenaline, cortisol flood your system. And that's that moment where you decide, you know, a mountain lion crosses your path. You're deciding we're fighting it, we're running from it, or we're going to play dead, right? And that's your body's way of figuring that out. So all other bodily functions stop. You stop digesting food. You stop all of your blood. Everything is rushing towards heart and wherever your body is about to take you. So it's important that we have stress and we have those moments because they can save our lives in some circumstances in the extreme, but they can also be a motivator. But it becomes the negative side because we can't survive that way. We can't constantly be in that high adrenaline, high stress, intense place. So that's where we see a lot of burnout and a lot of fatigue from people, especially people who work in stressful situations and stressful environments, right? If you work in a hospital, I went and toured Amazon recently, and just the amount of things that people have to do and the amount of time it has to be done, all of it is just so much pressure on a regular basis that people fall out of a lot of those things, and it starts to take a toll on their life other places. And so when we think about mental health, how would you all define mental health? What are some important things that you believe are a part of mental health? Peace, absolutely. Yep.
The ability to take negative situations and be able to balance and logically think them through and let go of those negative thoughts before they become obsessive or overwhelming.
Yeah, how you're able to roll with the punches, how you get back up when things get hard, life gets stressful, things happen. I tell when we do this in schools, I say sometimes life hits you in the face, right? We've all been hit in the face by life, sometimes a little harder than others and sometimes a little more frequently than others, but it happens. And our ability to get back up and manage those things is really important. Absolutely a part of mental health. Setting boundaries, stress management, stability, yes. What else do we have on the chat?
I'd also say it has to do with some genetic factors as well. You know, nature
Absolutely.
versus nurture. You're more predisposed to have mental health problems if it runs in your family.
Absolutely. Yep. It absolutely has to do with, we talk about risk factors and protective factors. And so risk factors don't cause mental illness. They don't create a mental illness, but they contribute to one, right? And so sometimes it's people's brain pathways that lead to a chemical imbalance that leads to a mental illness. But then some risk factors are if they don't have a healthy family environment, if they don't have healthy eating habits or any sort of physical exercise, anything like that, if they aren't connected to different social groups, if they really don't feel like they have value or a place in the world is really important. So there's so many different risk factors that contribute to mental illness and can exacerbate. But on the other side of that scale, we also have protective factors. And so that looks like having a healthy support system, feeling confident in yourself and your abilities, understanding how to set boundaries and navigate different experiences. And when you struggle with something, having those healthy, positive coping skills, right? So there's so many things that come into play when we talk about mental health. And the way that we really like to simplify it is live, laugh, love, right? I know some of you may have that on coffee mugs, it's in bathrooms, it's in people's kitchens, but live, laugh, love, if we look at it that way, live is your ability to function. So paying bills, showering, going to work on time, all of those pieces, are you functioning? Your laugh are the things you enjoy, your hobbies, your skills, your talents, everything that makes you you. And then that love are your relationships, whether it's with siblings, parents, significant others, children, having those healthy relationships that really allow you to show up and show out for yourself and the people around you. So when you have all of those things, those three things working in cohesion, you are mentally healthy. You're at the top of your game. But it's also what we talked about, right? Sometimes life happens, and it's your ability to take on whatever is going on and work through it in a healthy way. So being at the top of your mental health game does not mean you just wake up every morning and every day is a new opportunity and you're popping out of bed and you're ready, because that's not real life. We're not cartoon characters. Being mentally healthy is even when things are hard, life is stressful, there's so much going on. We're experiencing losing people. We're struggling with a family member, relationships, whatever it looks like. We're dealing with them in a healthy way. We're still taking care of ourselves throughout those situations. And stress is one of the biggest impacts that take over people's life, and one that they struggle to work themselves out of if you don't think of those healthy coping skills and self-care. And I know self-care is everybody talks about self-care, but how many people actually practice it regularly and very intentional about it? That is very different. So you want to look at how stress can show up. So we know when you're struggling with something mentally, it can be as debilitating as if you broke your arm, or if you broke your leg and you're walking around on crutches, right? It can be as debilitating as a physical ailment, because when you're struggling mentally and emotionally, those things have to come out in some way. And they start to come out, whether it's making bad decisions, engaging in riskier behaviors, or being irritable, not being able to really connect with the people that are important in your life, or losing interest in the things that you usually find a lot of joy in. And then also it can cause physical symptoms, aches and pains. We see it, exhaustion, you have constant headaches, all of that. Panic attacks, absolutely, worst thing. All of these things can play a role if you don't check in with yourself and you're not thinking about your mental health, if you're not checking in, and if you're not taking care of yourself. And I just tell people, you have to be at the top of your list, right? Everybody's like, no, well, I'm always at the bottom of my list, and that's how it should be, and that's how we think about it. But when you put yourself at the top of your list, your priority list, you're able to take care of everybody else on that list better, because you're taking care of yourself, because you're showing up for yourself, which means everything you're doing for everybody else is 10 times better, because you're modeling the way, you're putting in that work. And you feel well enough to take care of everybody else. And of course, that's easier said than done, but we want to talk through some of those ways that we can show up. Is there anything else? And I see Michelle put panic attack, anything else that's not on the physical symptoms or emotional and psychological that you've experienced? It's not up here on my slide.
Yes, if it's situations that you encounter that you don't, it's not normally what you should do, or if something is bestowed upon you that should be, or you have to take a role that you shouldn't have to take, that could cause a lot of stress as well. And I want you to kind of deal with that, because, it's just like grandparents and great grandparents. 90% of the time they're raising the children and et cetera. And they've gone through generations, And right. So how do situations that you didn't ask for, and then again, but you have to, be there.
Right.
And that could cause, a lot of stress and things. And that's one reason why I want it, because it's all over the world, and I deal with worldwide, and it's grandparents and great grandparents that's in situations that they shouldn't have to be in, but they're in it. And so what can you really do to help?
Absolutely. I think that idea of being pulled in multiple directions, right? And being forced into them, because it comes at the detriment to innocence, that if you choose not to take that position, if you choose not to take that role. And so just the overwhelming of you're in a role that you shouldn't be in, and there's no other way out of it, because there are children involved, and children are innocent in all of it. And we want to make sure that they're always taken care of. That can be incredibly stressful. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, this is Dr. Martin. Thank you.
Hi, Dr. Martin. Looking continual fatigue. Absolutely. Losing or gaining weight. Yes, absolutely. Huge. And being frozen, unable to function. So yeah, and that's the crazy part about stress, right? When you think about it, it's so many things you have to get done. And then when you get overwhelmed, it completely stops you from doing everything else. And like even the most basic things seem too much at that moment. And so that's when we know it's no longer a motivator. It's now a negative, it's the negative side of stress. It's the overwhelming stress. Absolutely. Thank you all for sharing. So how do you all notice when and we talked a little bit about this, I saw a few things, but how do you really notice when you're being overwhelmed by stress? What are some of the smaller beginnings, warning signs that you see for yourself?
Exhaustion.
Exhaustion, absolutely. Okay. Irritable.
Mm-hmm.
Want to spend less time with family, less patience, absolutely. Fear. Okay, yeah.
Saying enough is enough.
Yep.
Yeah, I feel like my cup is full, and any little thing, even a small thing, causes me to feel upset or cry or lose my temper.
Just
so like I'm at my limit.
Yeah, lack of control over emotions. And that's how I start to notice when things where I'm just like snapping at people and I'm like, oh my, I have to apologize. I'm so sorry. I don't even know what that was. I don't even know who that was. Yeah, I think irritability is a very common one. Just feeling exhausted, and to the exhausted where you can sleep and then you wake up and you're still tired, right? It's still there. It's still weighing on you. Absolutely. Okay. And so when we start to think about how we notice those smaller warning signs, things can pull and start to cave in on each other one by one, right? So when you're overwhelmed by stress, you get burned out. You're done with everything. We're tired of everything. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to sit here and do this. Even some of you may be feeling that right now. Like you're at this session, you're sitting here, you're having a conversation you may not want to be having because you're overwhelmed. And that leads to burnout where we're over it. And then compassion fatigue where, the things that you would normally care about, oh, Mom, I fell down. And it's like, but yet you're walking and you're back up. So do we really need to talk about this? Like, are we good? Can we move forward? We sort of lose some of that compassion for others that we would normally have because we're already going through a lot. And to extend that energy elsewhere is a lot. It feels like a lot. And I want to make sure that as we go through this, you all are starting to notice things in yourself, because all of the plan that you create for yourself, we call it a resiliency toolbox. That toolbox will look different because all of you are unique, you're individuals. What you need is very different from what everybody else needs. But as you start to think about how your early warning signs show up when you first start to see that stress turn negative, it's important to think about what things you want to put in place and how you can put a stop to some of that negativity. So burnout, just to walk through this, state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion. And this is just when stress has continued to go on. It's not lightening up. It's what you get rid of one thing, another thing is added on. You get rid of two things, 5 more things come up, right? And it's just, the list is never ending. Somebody always needs something. I'm always running from here to point A to point B to point C for somebody. And it's just to the point where you shut down, really, and it takes over to that negative level where nothing feels important. because everything has been so important, right? And it's important that we prioritize what really needs to get done, what do we want to get done, and what can wait in the wings, right? And a lot of times it doesn't feel like we can do this because, right, when you start on something, somebody brings something else to your door, and this is so important and we need to do this, and so you drop that and you move forward. But we really have to think about priorities and how you start to build on that. What needs to happen, what do I want to happen, and what can wait in the wings. And then compassion fatigue. It describes the physical and emotional and psychological impact of helping others. So as parents, it's natural part of the description, right? You are constantly, all you're doing is helping other people. And so when you're doing that to the point where you're not taking care of yourself, then you experience that compassion fatigue, where you stop caring in the ways that you normally would, where things you would have been really excited about for somebody or really upset about, I have no feeling. It's sort of going numb in some of those moments, because you have all these heightened emotions constantly happening. And at a certain point, you just level out and it numbs you. And so it's hard to be excited about things. It's hard to show that enthusiasm. So then the people around you are like, oh, well, was that not as good? Did I not do as well as I thought I was? Was this not as important? And that feels bad because you don't want them to feel that way, but you just genuinely can't summon the emotion that should be there. And so that's really important when you start to think about how you interact with your kids or you're interacting with teachers, anything else, and you just sort of feel yourself be numb in some of these situations where you normally would have some emotion or some excitement or whatever about it, or be excited for someone else. Okay, so right now, if you had to rate your stress, 1, not very stressed, and you can put up fingers and I'll go back in so I can see people. 1, not very stressed. 5, super stressed. Where are people in this? I see some 5s, 3s, 4s, some 5s, 4s. Okay. Going through 2s. Okay. Got some 2s.
107.
107.
I was gonna say, I see lots of 10s in the chat.
So this is coming at perfect time. I'm happy. That's good. That's good. Yeah, we're all going through a lot of stuff. And so we're all sort of, I think I didn't see any, I saw some 2s. I don't know if I saw any 1s. So we're all on that spectrum, right? If it's, some of us are in that happy part of stress, like I'm still motivated, I'm still getting things done. And then others are in that overwhelming, I'm at my limit, I'm at my ceiling. And so as we go through this, how you bring forth some of these ideas is depending on what level you think you need them, of how concerned you are about the stress that you're experiencing and the fact that it's overwhelming you to a point where nothing else is getting done. So important things that you notice. So what sorts of things are stressing you all out, and what things do you notice about those stressful situations, or how you handle those stressful situations? So children asking you to do things. Yeah, well, I'm in this meeting. Tell them this is my time. You're the problem right now. Get out.
A lot of financial things have kind of hit this spring for my family. So that's my, right now, financial stuff is the big stress.
Finances are huge. Yeah, top, I if we took a poll, that'd probably be top stressor for people is finances. Medical bills, I'm seeing just too many things on your plate, homework, paperwork, all of it. All at once. Yeah. Too many directions, money, not enough for me to go around. Yeah. Think straight. Yes. Year of homeschooling. Wow. Lack of finances, marriage, and family. Yep. Trauma in the family. Absolutely. Prioritizing what's most important. Too much to do. Demands. Okay. Woo. You guys are stressing me out. This is a lot. You guys have a lot going on. You all have so many things happening.
Preparing to send my son to college. There's just 1.5 million things to do. And yeah, I feel like I'm always dropping the ball somewhere.
Right. Yeah. And that's also a feeling like you're just not measuring up or meeting expectations, I think can be one of the most stressful things. There's so many things going on, but at the top of it, it's just you feeling like you're not doing enough. Yeah. Work, school, not enough time. Yeah. That's a big deal. Okay. thank you all for sharing. And so as we go through these, again, just start to think of what parts of these plans do you think are realistic for you? And so when we talk about self-care, this is all this is, right? It's your upkeep. Everything needs maintenance. Cars need maintenance, houses need maintenance. You need maintenance. And that's what self-care should be, is just you keeping up with yourself. You're repairing. If we have to like put a Band-Aid over some things, that's fine for that moment, but it's about coming back and really being intentional, and putting some attention on yourself, to show up and show out, right? We show up and show out for everybody else in our lives, but rarely do we do it for ourselves. And in these ways, I like to think people have to be you have to be your own best friend. How you would treat your best friends, the way that you would inconvenience yourself for your best friend, is the same way that you should inconvenience others to make sure you're taking care of yourself, right? You have to be your own cheerleader, because no one else, and you all know this, because of the roles that you're in, no one else is responsible or can take care of you the way that you know you need to be taken care of. Of course, people around us add to our happiness, and they add to the love we feel and all of that, but nobody is responsible for your happiness. No one is responsible for your care, at least at this point in life. And so because of that, how do we step in for ourselves and make sure that we're showing up the way that we would want, or the way that we would show up for somebody else, and how we would want others to show up for us? So how can we bring some of that back and make that our own? You have to, I skipped too many. You have to think about it in the sense of, again, if you take care of yourself, if you're at the top of your priority list, everyone else on that list will do better, will be better, because you're able to take care of them better. It's about modeling the way. And while it feels selfish in the beginning, and it feels like, but there are so many other things I should be doing, reality is, if you took that time and you were very intentional about that, all of those other things would be done better. And so you taking care of yourself, it's not selfish. It enhances the life of everybody else you're taking care of. It just naturally will, because if you're in that place, then you can show up better for them, and they can join you in that healthy place. But it's important that we think of mental health as health, because it has a huge impact on our lives. It can shut us down completely in the drop of a hat if we don't check in with ourselves. And so why would you allow it to sit and stagger? And I know it's a lot of times it's like, well, we have to pay the bills, and this roof has to stay over our head, and food has to stay on the table, and those are the essentials. And so it's hard to focus on other things when you're trying to focus on basic human needs. But if you start to just and I think people think it has to be more time than it really does. It could be 5 minutes of your day. Like if you're sitting in a parking lot, it could be that parking lot 5 minutes before you go back home from grocery shopping, that you're being intentional about that self-care. And if you do that regularly, then that really starts to show. And it starts to show up in ways that you probably wouldn't expect. So what are some of the other issues that stop us from taking care of ourselves? What are some of these other things that prevent us from self-care? And put in the chat and feel free to share out. Time management, yep. Mom guilt. No, mom guilt. No, feeling guilty. Ability, absolutely. Feeling selfish, yeah. Overcommitting, yep. And I think, and I'm seeing that, so feeling selfish, feeling guilty, and I just talked about that, right? You have to take care of yourself first. You'll feel better, and everybody else around you will start to see that, because it really does matter. And I know it has to be about me, but sometimes it really should be, because you all do a lot, and that should be acknowledged, and you should celebrate all of the little things, the smallest things. I mean, like I think it was when I was younger, everything looked exciting and cool, right? Like doing the dishes looked cool, doing my laundry, it was like so exciting. I got to use the washing machine by myself. And now I'm an adult, and I'm like, if somebody wants to do this for me, if somebody wants to step in and just like take this whole thing over, that would be great. But it is those, and right now, as adults, you have all of these things that you just naturally do, right? We naturally step into these roles. And as a parent, I'm assuming you just take over stuff. You start doing things. And in the beginning, it's all very exciting. We're parents, but sometimes it has to come back down to you. Sometimes you really have to take that step back and say, this time is for me. I'm going to be selfish with myself. And you have to delegate out. You have to say, you should take care of this and you should start working on that. And I think you can handle that on your own. And so wanting, and I see struggling to ask for help is huge, because sometimes that's a part of our self-care, right? I can't do this right now. This doesn't fit within the time constraint that we have. And it doesn't also with my mental capacity, I can't take on anything more. I can't continue to roll this way.
Lynn?
Yeah.
Can I ask a question at that
Absolutely.
point? Why is it so hard to say no when you seem like you're all things to all people?
And I think we get in this, and that's to individual people. I can speak for myself. It's incredibly hard for me to say no. I have had to build those boundaries, and I have to tell people, like, you have to stop asking, because I'll say yes to everything you ask me. And I think it's hard because we all want to be helpful, right? It's natural for people to want to feel useful and for people to feel valued. And we think a lot of the times people think their only value comes from helping others and doing for others. And that's what we're told, you're a good person if you go out and you do this for other people and you don't ask for anything in return and you continue to put yourself out there. Like, that's what makes good people in society. Those are successful individuals. But reality is, no matter, and that's true, we give back and we want to give back, but if it's at the expense of your peace, if it's at the expense of your well-being, then it's not really worth it. It can't be, because if it was supposed to be helping you, if it was supposed to be making you feel better, it would be. And when it stops being that, and it starts just being an obligation, and I just can't say no, then it loses its value, and you lose your value if you continue to let it take you down that path. Because we know it says what were some of those early on warning signs: being irritable, feeling overwhelmed, feeling pressure, panic attacks, all of that. How can you feel good if by giving all you can to everybody else, you're experiencing all of these negative things? So it truly, I think the connotation of we have to give, because that's what makes us good. That's what makes us good people. That's what makes us important. That's where we get our value from. That's just not true in all the ways, because if it was, you would always feel better about it. You would always feel good every situation you walked into and said yes to. And that's not the case. So it's just as important that you take time for yourself. We're human beings. Like, some of our focus has to be on ourselves, and to expect the rest of the world. And requests will always come in. And that's also the thing. You have time. No, people will never stop asking for help, asking for volunteers, asking for this, asking for that. You don't lose your moment if you say no to this one occasion, because there will be others. And so allowing yourself to be okay with, I'll see how I'm feeling the next time around. I'll see what's going on the next time, instead of feeling like it has to be in this moment. And, oh, well, you're always the one, and we just love having you. I mean, people know what to say. I can't even walk. I kid you not. my family hates it. I have to put on headphones when I walk through the mall, because those people at the carts will get me. I have bought like 2 family photos that I had no intention of actually doing, just because they were like, oh, this would be so helpful, and you'll be helping out my quota and this and that. And I'm doing this for an absolute stranger that, I don't think they think anything of. I'm just another person walking by, but I feel so, I just have to do this. I just have to be nice. And I end up spending money on things that I have no intent. Nobody in my family is taking those photos. Nobody's doing those things. Like, I bought so much hand lotion and stuff that I just throw away, because I'm like, what is this? But it truly is one of those things. We just naturally feel like we have to give in. Like, we just have to, well, I'm doing it and I'm helping. But the helping shouldn't come at your own expense. It shouldn't come at at your own well-being. And that's important to note. And if you're not feeling it, be honest and be able to say that, because there will be another opportunity that you may be better suited for, that you may feel better, because anytime you're supporting somebody else, you should feel good about that. And if it comes, again, to the point, I'm going to keep saying this, if it comes to the point where you're not feeling good about it, then it's not the right situation you need to be in. Right.
Okay.
Sometimes and did I answer your question? I want to make sure.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm. You share with me. You're right on target.
Good. Asking others to help with something can be stressful. Absolutely. I think it's always, I do not like asking for help. I say, I've never asked for help. It's always been forced on me. I've never had to go out of my way, but truly it's one of the most important things. It's one of the biggest self-care things you can do is start asking for help, is start being honest with the people around you. Because if you think about all the things you do and how you show up for people, if you don't have anybody you can turn around and do that same thing to, then you need better people. You need different people in your circle. You need a better support system, because if you don't think there's not one person around you that you could lean on the way that others lean on you, then you need to find those people, and you don't have them. And that's something that even as adults, we have to figure out, because some people are only meant for, I think of people in 3 different categories, right? We have our people that are there for a moment, that moment in our lives, something happens, and there are people that surround us. We have people that are there for a season, and those seasons can be 2 months or 10 years, but they're a season. They're only supposed to be there for a portion of your life. And then you have your lifelongers. You have those people that are with you. I like to say 10 toes down, loyal to the soil. They're in it for life with you, right? And those people in your family, your loved ones, they should act as your front line. And what I mean by that, and we'll talk about it more in Oxy as we go down in our slides here, but your front line, my front line, is to make sure that, because naturally, what do? When we see somebody fall down the stairs, we might, oh, I want to help them. But our natural first reaction, we laugh. We see somebody get hit with something, we laugh. And then we come back around and say, oh my God, are you okay? Like, I've slipped and fallen in Walmart, like heard the laughs and then saw people come over and like, oh, can we help you get up and like do stuff. So our natural reaction when things go wrong for other people is to laugh and to just watch, to spectate, right? And so my front lines, those people that I consider they have my best interest in mind, they're going to show up and show out for me the same way I would show up and show out for them. They're there to make sure nobody gets a satisfaction of seeing me fail, right? Nobody gets to, if I need to fall, I'm falling back on them and not forward in front of strangers. And I'm confident in that. I feel that because there are times where I have fallen and they're there to help make sure that I'm not embarrassing myself. I'm not doing things that I don't need to be doing. I'm not deciding to go into destructive behaviors. They're keeping me on track. They're keeping me focused. And if you don't have that front line, or you don't feel like you have those people that you can really fall on and lean on, then it's about finding who those people are and what that looks like. So we really want to make sure that we're thinking through what self-care looks like holistically. That means people in your environment, important. If there's people that add stress to your life that really don't need to be there, like, here's your ticket, have a nice journey. We grow up, we grow out. This is what we do. And we're constantly evolving as human beings. And some people just aren't meant to fit in that for a long amount of time, especially if they're consistently adding to the stress that you already have. So want to make sure that we think through that as well. So resiliency toolbox, this is what at the end of the night, I want you all to be able to walk away with, right? Some basic skills and ideas about things you want to commit to and ways that you want to start engaging in self-care, and how you can start to motivate yourself to do those things. What's a game plan? How am I going to start to really be intentional about this and move forward on some of these ideas? So we have something called How to Hack Your Hormones. And the way that we like to talk about this, we talk about your happiness hormones. And we know hormones, chemical produced by different glands in your body, they all live in your body rent-free all day, every day. But how you can be intentional about using some of them. How can you really use your body, your chemistry, what you already have inside of you to your benefit on a regular basis? And so one of the most important things is helping you regulate your mood, helping you work through some difficult situations to just, you see some drastic mood shifts. How can we even it out? How can we balance ourselves on a regular basis? So the way that we look at this is through DOSE, so DOSE. So that's dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. So dopamine is our feel-good hormone. It's our achievement. It's our brain's reward system. So, and we'll go through more of what each of these are, but there are things we do every day. And that's why a big part of dopamine is celebrate the little wins, celebrate the things that, everybody's like, oh, well, that's just something you should do. But Some days, those easy things, those simple things are incredibly hard. They're the mountain. They're your peak that day. And so it's important to celebrate yourself and have those moments of, I did this, I accomplished this, I get to take that breath. Because that really is important, because some days the hardest thing you'll have to do is, I don't know, a school field trip, and you have to do this, and you have to plan all the logistics and scheduling and who where, and we're doing all of this. And then other things are simple, like I got up out of bed, I brushed my teeth, I showered, and that was what I did today. And that is the top of my mountain. And that, if that's what it is that day, then that should be celebrated. That's really important, because you could have not done any of those things. You could have stayed in bed all day, whatever that looks like. Or if you need to stay in bed and today is about rest and that is all I need to do, then that is that mountain. That is what you should be celebrating yourself for. So it's really about being intentional and being honest with yourself about, where am I at today? And I'm going to feel good about wherever that looks like, however high I can go for that. Oxytocin, that's our love hormone. Whenever your system floods with oxytocin, you empathize with people a little bit more, you trust people and things around you a little bit more. It helps you bond into relationships. And so that's the one, your front line, those people in your support system. It's important that you have the right people, right? Because if your system is flooding with oxytocin for somebody that stresses you out on a regular basis, and it is more of a negative presence in your life than a positive, then it's important that you think about, how can I be more intentional about the people I spend time with, about the relationships that I'm building. Serotonin helps to regulate your mood. So that's sort of your stabilizer. That's, I want to be here. I've been here. I'm doing all this. I just need to settle right in the middle here. So just to regulate emotions, bring some calm into your life. And all of those can be sleep, what you eat, how the things that you're engaging with. Intellectual self-care is important. Reading books, or TED Talks, reading self-help books, all of those are really important. Meditation, and we'll talk about a few other things. And then endorphins, so your body's natural pain reliever. Anytime your body experiences any sort of discomfort, your system will flood with endorphins, and that's meant to just lessen some of those impacts. So exercise, all of those things would flood your system with endorphins. So we want to dig into dopamine here. And this is the reward hormone. Anytime, good sleep, you're eating. If you like to cook, finishing a meal floods your system with dopamine. I play the game Township. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of that, but there's this game Township, and you basically create your own town, and you're like a farmer, and you sell your products, and you build factories, and you do all this stuff. And so I'm incredibly wealthy in Township. I have like 10,000 coins. I'm living my best life in there. Wish it was real. That would be an incredible experience. But besides the point, I enjoy my little town. I get to build things. I get to experience things. Every time I level up, I'm like, oh, my town is growing. It's growing so well. So small things like that are dopamine, right? That's like, hey, I'm doing this. I'm building something. I'm having a good time. I'm leveling up. I'm adding cows to my field. I'm adding a school, a playground, a place for people to spend time. All of that would be considered dopamine. It's just those fun little small ways I'm achieving things. Things are getting done. People who like checklists, being able to cross things off that checklist. I'm a big sticky note person, so every task I have is a sticky note, and it's scattered around everywhere. So being able to like pull that sticky note off my desk, crumple it up, throw it away, dopamine. I've gotten something done. So it's important that, again, we celebrate those small wins, and we really be intentional about how we're taking care of ourselves, the things that we actually need to do. And that comes with prioritizing, right? So what needs to happen, what do I want to happen, and what can wait on the wings. And as you go through what needs to happen, great, we're checking things off. Things are happening. That's important. Any other ideas you all would have for dopamine, for that feel-good reward system that you could engage in? Yes, no, it's really okay.
I'm a big horror movie fan. So if I get to see like some new horror movies or a show, that makes me happy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And praying makes me happy. Hello.
Yes, love it. Sitting
A lot
outside.
of praying and fasting. Mhm.
Yes. Yep. And we want to make sure that all of these things that we talk about, right? It should not make your life harder. When you think about building this resiliency toolbox, none of these should add more stress to your life. They should be things you truly enjoy. They should be things you truly want to commit to and think about. So as we go through these, if you want any additional ideas, let me know. Because we can definitely talk through some things. So oxytocin, all of these things that we see on the slide would be considered flooding your system with oxytocin. This touches in playing with a pet. My sister has a cat. I think cats are evil. I think they come straight from the devil. But that's my personal opinion, right? She's very sweet. We have moments. She let me put a little elf sweater on her during Christmas. That was our little moment of love, oxytocin. I knew she was evil because she immediately started running around the house backwards, which for sure is a sign of something's hinky. The programming is off. But all in all, it's some of those small moments, right? You know, cats, when they purr, they're releasing oxytocin. Like that's one of their main functions. It's what they do all the time. And again, it's meant for you to trust them, which is suspicious. I'm just saying. But for our cat lovers, that's totally, you know, you love on your cat, you hug on your cat. Dogs, people's best friend. That's what they're there for. They want to support you and give you all the love. And so that's really, really important. And then holding hands, simple thing, with whoever. Holding hands fills your system with oxytocin. Hugging your family. One of the most important ones that we found is gratitude. I think it's so important because sometimes people really get stuck in a silo. They really get stuck in negative thoughts and negative emotions and feeling like this isn't going right, this isn't happening, nothing is happening. But when you take a pause and you step back and you actually think about what are the things I'm grateful for? What are the good things that have happened to me today? It starts to change your brain pathways. It actually changes like your neuron pathways. So the way that we talk about this in schools is when kids go to school, what is the emotion they experience as they're driving up to school to get to school? Bad, annoyed, tired, angry, frustrated, whatever the case may be. How do you feel as you're just driving? It's a weekend, you're just driving past your school, but because it's a similar route, you still experience some of those same feelings, even though you're not actually going there, you're not actually having to go into the building. It's because of those emotions that just crossing that street, negativity. I feel I'm annoyed, I'm frustrated. You don't even know why. You're not even going in there. But if you take a minute and you decide, okay, as I drive up here, I'm excited. If it's work, sometimes I have to do this at work. You know, I'm really looking forward to chatting with them about that one project. I'm excited to start preparing for this other project I'm working on. I'm looking forward to just seeing that person in the hallway. If you start to think in those small ways and change your mindset, it changes those pathways in your brain. It changes how you'll start to feel every time you come somewhere or pass by a place that you normally don't enjoy being. And so if you started to do that for like a good week or two, just finding those little things as you're driving up, invoking some of those positive emotions, it changes the way your brain would process that information. And it starts to put more of those positive emotions instead of the negative ones. And that can completely change your whole mindset. And so if that's going to pick up your kids from school because, they're going to get in my car and they're going to make it dirty and they're going to be loud and I'm going to be upset. If we start to think about, I'm so excited to get them home so I can get in the bathtub so I can have some private time. I'm so excited to be able to talk to them about something good that happened to them that day. If you start to put in some of those more positive thoughts, your body will just follow suit because honestly, your body does whatever your brain tells it to. And so if you're having those thoughts, your body will it'll flood your system with oxytocin. It'll give you those feelings. So if you all want to share some of the things you're grateful for, some of the things, and sometimes there are certain days, right? You rolled out of bed. We chose violence this morning because that's just what it is. That's where we are right now. And so this is where we are. So some of those days you have to do the bare minimum. Like, okay, I had shoes to put on that didn't have holes in them. I got to get up And I got to get into a hot shower this morning. So sometimes it might be those bare minimum things, but those things are still really important because you're finding the good. You're finding the good. And as long as you continue to do that, it floods your system with positive emotions, oxytocin, all of that. How long does it take to the pathways? I tell people it's sort of a guessing game. If you want to try this for like a week, see how you feel. For like a solid week, you're consistently thinking things positively. You're changing your mindset. You'll start to see small changes. You'll start to see those little shifts that are important. And as you continue to do it, it becomes a regular practice. Your brain, it's just following whatever path you lead for it. It's changing those pathways, and it's changing that development of your brain. And I know we think about our brain typically stops. All brains typically stop developing at the age of 25, but those neural pathways constantly moving, constantly changing. And so you still have time to do some of those things. Seeing kids is joy, grateful for the little things. Yeah, we want to be grateful for the little things. And so I just have a note here. Oh, I want to make sure they just need to make sure that people are here for attendance. So if cameras can be on, I want to give out that quick disclaimer. Just put your camera on, make sure you get an attendance for today. Having a job, home, healthy family, absolutely. Faith, yes. Job is flexible, yes. Running water, heat, AC, yes. Good times with kids, pets, family, God, we love it. Friends and family, all of these things. So it's just, and once you start to think about those things, doesn't it just start to like, okay, all right, today was tough, but now that I'm having to put it out into words, now I'm writing it out, I'm typing it out, you start to feel just a little bit. I'm not saying it's going to completely do a 180 on your mood, but it starts to remind you of the things you have to smile about, the things you have to be helpful for or happy for, grateful for. Yeah, working pipes. Yep. We have food. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you all for sharing. That is great. And so we know gratitude does so many things for us. It fosters hope. And sometimes that's what we need in that moment. We just need a little bit of hope. Sometimes we're in the trenches and we've been in the trenches and we can't see anything but trenches. But when you take a minute, poke your head out and just say, you know what? My kids are happy. They're successful. Like they're not, I don't know, full-on delinquents. I always laugh with my mom about, your kids could be a lot worse. Some of the things we do, they're not great, but like we could be super villains. So just some of those small things, right, are a win. Absolutely. And I'm just checking. Yes, having a spouse who's able to give extra. Yeah, grace. Absolutely. Beautiful. So move to serotonin. And we look at serotonin, it is our mood stabilizer. So I want to take a minute. I want to test your all's music tastes and choices. And so if you want to throw some songs in there, your top songs that, I know the Spotify Wrapped list and like Apple Wrapped list comes out, but just some of the songs or artists that you like. That'd be great. Who are we listening to? The Cure. Okay. Remember Days? Yes. Lizzo, love it. A little bit of everything. You Are My Joy. Okay. Phil Collins, Carrie Underwood. Good. Lady A. Yes. Chapman. Mainly country. I just got into what's his name? Morgan Wallace, is that right? Country? I don't know, but he's good. I think he's country. Love Chris Brown. Okay, worship music. Maverick City Worship, Def Leppard, Isle Vista Worship, Micah Tyler, Be Nice. 90s R&B, yes. Jake, yes. Anderson, yes. Anderson .Paak is good. Okay. I love it. I kind of like that I was raised by older parents, and my mom's going to be so mad, so don't tell her I told you this, but my father is 77. My mom is, maybe I won't say her age. She's got an age. But
moms are fine.
Yeah. She's great. She's immortal, really. That's the trick. But I grew up with older parents. So my playlist is Luther Vandross, Ray Charles, Aretha Franklin, Nina Simone, Big Mama Thornton, Frank Sinatra. We've got the oldies that I think people my age they don't like when I have the aux cord, because I'm like listening to all of those and they're not interested. So that's exciting. Kendrick Lamar, yes, love it. J. Cole, opera, Mellow, love all of that. Yes. Okay, you guys passed the vibe check, as they would say. Annie Williams, I like it. This is all great. For King and Country, yes, love it. So yeah, music is a big part of us taking care of ourselves. We listen to certain music when we feel certain ways, right? There's music when you're upset. We've got that. There's music when you're angry, excited, happy. Maybe it changes for people. Maybe it doesn't. But music is some of the consistent. Everybody can find a part of music. You can absolutely make fun of my mom because she listens to like soundscapes. She's like listening to these, it's just noise that people, to me, it sounds like noise. To her, it's like calming and it sounds great. So that's always fun to get into her car and see what, nature scene she's listening to. It's a lot of jungle stuff. I don't know where you can find some of this stuff. But it's great. The reminders. Okay, awesome. So listening to music is a big deal. Yeah, like it's something not everyone, but most people do naturally, whether it's casually, just in the background, or you're very intentional about it. And you go through a lot of these things. So listening to music can be one of those things where you're experiencing high emotions and it just helps to even us out. Mindfulness is huge. And so does anyone know what I mean by mindfulness? Can I say that?
Just being in the moment.
Yeah,
just being in the
intentionality.
moment.
Absolutely. Yes, being in the moment. Aware of your thoughts. Yes. And so I watch a lot of true crime, right? And like Criminal Minds, like everybody's an unsub. So I also like to say it keeps you safe, right? To notice your surroundings, be aware. You never know who's around. Helps to know what's going on. But I ask people, I am highly introverted. I'm like a 30 on the introverted scale. It may not seem like it. I know how to show up and show out when I need to, but after this, I'm probably not going to speak to anybody for the rest of the day. So I'm very introverted. And because of that, I don't ask normal questions. I don't do small talk. I think small talk, it makes me anxious. It makes me like I feel like I'm constantly being weird. Like I care about your favorite color and your favorite food, but like it's not that important to me right now. Like I don't care about it right now. It should come up naturally. And I think small talk is weird. So whenever I meet somebody, I call it curiosity. Other people would call it being nosy, or like too much, but I think it just is what it is. It depends on the type of person you are. So when I meet people, I ask people, how are you? Mind, body, and soul, right? And is your head where your feet are? And if it's not, why? And so a lot of times we are physically somewhere. It's that idea of presenteeism, right? We're physically in a place, but mentally 12 other places. It could be happening to you right now. You're sitting here listening to me, but you're really thinking about what am I going to do for dinner? And what are we going to do after this? And when do the kids need to go to bed? And when do I need to look at that? And I need to work on this later on. And all of these other things happening in your brain. And because of that, it's hard to just show up where you are. It's hard to focus in on what's happening for you right then and there. I like that. And so introverted. Sometimes people think I'm stuck up. I for sure know people think that I am, because I will let a conversation die right then and there, not because I don't care or I don't want to continue it, because I just have nothing more to say to you in this moment. So we have to think through some of those things. But it is important that we think about how we can be more aware in the place that we are, how we can really zone in and focus on where we physically are, and showing up in those spaces. So when we think of mindfulness and we have an activity for this, this is one of those things. You could be in your car, 5 minutes, you sit and do this. You could be at a parent-teacher conference and you see yourself drifting off, you feel yourself drifting off, and we're just going to focus right back in. We're going to do this little mindfulness exercise and then we're right back into it. So these small things are really important. Meditating, sometimes it works for people, sometimes it doesn't. I think it's a type of meditating. When I first heard about meditation, it was like the mantra that you have to have and you continue to say, and like the I'm gonna be a millionaire by the age of 30, and like all of that. I wasn't a fan. I'm not a fan of it. But the new way that we like to think about it, again, is just noticing where your mind is going, noticing how many different directions it's being pulled in, and being okay with that and saying, you know what, I know that this has to get done. I know that these are things that are going on, but right now I need to be here. And so just pulling yourself back, acknowledging those thoughts, those fleeting things, and then pulling yourself back in. And then exercise, that can be a huge mood stabilizer, whether it can be swimming, it can be running, it can be cycling, it can be, I just took my sister and I took my mom a couple months ago up to Bishop's Castle. If you don't know what it is, it's this insane castle that this man built by himself. And he sits out there in a lawn chair and he yells at people when they come and see it. He's like super anti-government, and it's a really cool place. If you haven't been, I highly encourage you to check it out. But it's just this extreme castle it's if you don't like heights, I don't like heights, but it was my way to test that fear and to push myself past that. But I go up there, it's like a 3-hour drive. So it's a nice, not like 2.5 hours. It's like a nice drive up the mountain. I don't know if people like driving, I love going on those mini random road trips. But I just get to go up there and then get out, walk up that castle, get as high as I feel like I get that day. And I just come back down, and I still have all the things that I need to get done. Absolutely. Those things haven't been checked off my list, but I'm able to come back into them with a different mindset. I'm able to come back into them a little more focused, a little calmer, and a little less overwhelmed, because I just took a step back and I did what I needed to do. I exerted that energy and I was able to come back into it and think through things better. So it's really interesting how some of those things can change your perspective. Just being out in nature, right? Just the sun coming in on you. Have sunscreen, of course. It's highly recommended, I hear. But just having that time to be outside, to be exposed to brightness and trees and grass and all of it. I like to say camping is not really our thing. Camping is like a Motel 8 in our family. Like that's really risking it for the biscuit. But if you enjoy nature and like that's where you feel your peace, where you feel your calm, wanting to indulge in those things, engage in that in whatever way possible is really important. Journaling is also a big deal. Writing some things down, and I think I have every journal I've had since I was 7 years old. I write a lot in this I'm the only person who writes in this family. So I have all my feelings documented, right? I used to call in one of my journals, I wouldn't refer to my mom as mom. I called her Mrs. Hendricks. It was like when I was 7 or 8. I just have my journals full of Mrs. Hendricks did this today. It's like we were in a very formal place when I was younger. She was still being vetted at that time to make sure she was qualified to be in her position. So we kept it very formal at a young age. But just being able to go back and look at those things and to see what I was thinking about and what was important to me and what I was talking about, it's just so fascinating. And it brings a smile to my face. I was like, wow, I was so dramatic. There were so many, I had such a rich social life as a child. And I had such this crazy imagination and so many things that I was thinking about. And it's just great to see how I've grown up and I get to track it in that way. And I think that's just as important as we're adults, is we're writing things out, or we're talking about our experiences and how we felt in those moments, and to be able to look back and see the growth and see how life has changed for you in some of these dramatic ways. It's really interesting and it's really important. And it's sort of like the history of you and who you are and how you've grown and what you've overcome. And one of the other very invasive questions I ask people when I meet them, and I actually ask it at the beginning of some of the trainings that I do, is what would your 8-year-old self be proudest of you for right now, today? One thing that your 8-year-old self would be proudest of you for. And a lot of people haven't thought about that in a really long time. Some people don't even remember what they were doing at 8 in the 3rd grade. But I'm going to ask you all that right now. What is one thing your 8-year-old self would be proudest of you for? Feel free to put it in the chat or say it out if you feel it. And I'm happy to go first. A model the way. We talked about this. My 8-year-old self would probably be proudest of me for my curiosity. I think when I was younger, I tried to, hide it and keep quiet and be on my own by myself. But to now be doing things and like sharing things and be okay with some of those interests that I had and lean into people a little bit, I think she'd be very proud of that. I'm seeing some things come true through owning a house. Yeah, happily married and having a family. Absolutely. Breaking generational curses. That is huge. Overcoming trauma and being where I am today. Absolutely. College degree. Being a great wife and mom. Yes. 8-year-old self. Most proud of healing. I've decided to do. Yes. In love. Love it. Guys, I'd be so proud of me for having a million animals. Yes. That young, every kid wanted to be a veterinarian, right? I want to be like a veterinarian, a ballerina, a violinist, ringleader of a circus. I still want to be a ringleader of a circus. I don't think that will ever go away, but
I told my 3rd grade teacher I wanted to be a social worker, to which she replied that I would not be a social worker because my handwriting was horrible. So I would tell my 8-year-old self, I didn't become a social worker, but I do have great handwriting.
There you go. You flip it around. And I don't know why that would ever be a requirement. I've seen some social workers' handwriting. It's like chicken scratch. So it's definitely not a requirement of the job, but penmanship is important on the other side of that. So that is awesome. Yes. All right. 8-year-old self, capable of speaking publicly and make new friends. Yeah, that is awesome. Can buy candy whenever I want. Yes, that is one of the highest achieving things every kid should be proud of. When they get to go into a store and buy whatever they want. I mean, it's your money, so that's the sad part, but you get to buy whatever you want. You get to do whatever you want with it. That's awesome. Doing grown-up things. Yes. Breaking negative family cycles. Absolutely. College and family, wife and mom. Farm in my backyard. Oh, nice. I've always wanted a chicken named Pig and a chicken named Pig and a pig named Dog. I don't know why. I just really want to confuse the animals, I suppose. Breaking generational curses. Yes.
That's a good one.
All of these are good. Yes. Working through trauma. Proud of compared to any years left. Yeah. Indy kart racer, travel, yeah. Being more confident, good at b-ball. Is that basketball? I don't know slang. I don't know those words. Being good at basketball, love it. Finding my voice, yes. Bachelor's and master's. Liking myself, huge. Hardest thing sometimes. Going to a fundamental school in 3rd grade, yes. You have stuff to be proud of. Healing, yeah. Oh, am I going back around? I feel like, nope, that's different. Okay, old fears and limitations, breaking free from them, yeah. Living a very different life than how I grew up. Yes. I will name one of my chickens. Nice. Thank you. That's gonna be my new fun fact. Somebody's named their chicken Pig. That's awesome. Thank you. Love it. Okay. Thank you all for sharing. I think it's just important that we think about how far we've come, that we think about how much life we've lived, and especially knowing the ways that we could have gone down, right? The destructive paths, the cycles that we could have continued, and choosing not to, and every day making a choice not to, because everything is a choice, regardless of how we feel. Like, we know, unfortunately, taking care of your kids, it's a choice. Showing up for other people, it's a choice. Doing good things, trying to make society, your neighborhood, your community a better place is a choice. And some people actively go against that. So it's very important that we celebrate ourselves for all of that. Absolutely. That is awesome. Okay. So we want to do this mindfulness exercise. So if you haven't done one, you kind of get an idea of what this looks like. So it's going to go through it, and it'll have time at the end for us to do it. But if you all just want to do it as the video is instructing it, you get a sense of what this can look like and how easy, how truly simple it is. Okay.
The 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method is a grounding exercise that can help you stay in the moment and avoid negative thinking and worry. You can do this exercise anywhere, at home, at school, in the car, or even
Oh, just kidding.
in the middle of a crowd. You can do it sitting, standing, or laying down. Counting down from 5, use your senses to list things around you. Make an effort to notice details about these things. This is how to do it. Start by breathing deeply in through your nose and out through your mouth.
Oh my God. So sorry.
Then slowly look at your surroundings. Find 5 things that you can see around you. Maybe you see a colorful poster on the wall, the spider web on.
Oh, can you all see my screen? I feel like I just went the wrong direction on that.
Yes, we can. I can.
Let me see if I, okay. It's the video still. Just give me a thumbs up if you still see the video.
No, it's the PowerPoint.
Ah, my screens are being tricky. Technology actually doesn't like me. Okay, let's do this and then I'll start sharing again. Sorry, I'm adding stress to the situation.
Now it's the video.
Nice. Thank you. All right, let me see if I can bring us back to where we were. Maybe. Okay.
The 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method is a grounding exercise that can help you stay in the moment and avoid negative thinking and worry. You can do this exercise anywhere, at home, at school, in the car, or even in the middle of a crowd. You can do it sitting, standing, or laying down. Counting down from 5, use your senses to list things around you. Make an effort to notice details about these things. This is how to do it. Start by breathing deeply in through your nose and out through your mouth.
Is this your session of mine? Mm-hmm. You did say your noses.
Then slowly look at your surroundings. Find 5 things that you can see around you. Maybe you see a colorful poster on the wall, the spider web on the bookshelf, the lamp on the nightstand with the red shade, the cat sleeping peacefully on the chair, the cactus on the dresser that has finally bloomed. Then list 4 things that you can touch. The warm mug in your hands, the soft comforter on the bed, the denim of your jeans, the scratchy carpet under your feet. Next, listen for 3 things you can hear. Maybe the ticking of a clock, the quiet hum of your computer, the sound of traffic from outside. Now try to find 2 things that you can smell. The tea in your mug, the clean scent of your clothes. Finally, list one emotion that you feel. This is a way to ground yourself so you can feel present in the moment and in control of your surroundings. Now you try.
Okay, have to run to get some water. So, as you were doing that, did it help? Did anybody? I don't want to go back to the main one so I can sort of see everybody. Was it helpful? Was it not? How did that feel? See, it was good. Yeah, I can absolutely put the link for this in here to share. Calming, relaxing. Yeah. What if I was having a hard time? Yeah. Absolutely. And so that's just, again, it's a way, mind, body, and soul is your head where your feet are. It's a way to bring our heads back. It's a way to show up in that moment and make sure that we continue to be present and that we're engaged. And I've gone into a lot of schools to talk about all of these things and to sit down with some kids. And I can only imagine what having kids is like, because sometimes I sit and listen to some of these kids. I'm like, what are you even talking to me about? Like, why does this matter? Get away from me. I don't know what you're saying. But there's so many things that people bring to your door, right? This is going on. This happened. I did this. I went here. I went that. And sometimes because it feels overwhelming, we sort of blank out of those moments. We're thinking about 12 other things going on. But it's important if we're engaging in those relationships, if we really want to show up and show people how important they are, that we're giving them that time, we're giving them that energy and that focus that's required in those small moments. And so mindfulness is just a way to bring us back to that, right? It's a way to center us, make sure we're showing up and that we're engaged in that moment. I almost fell asleep. Okay, well, we're going to do a meditation one. So if we have to, like, tell me if I need to make a loud sound or something once that is over, if people heads start to dip. This is great. Not sure I'll need to try again. Yeah. Sometimes you don't know until you're in a moment. So I can share the link for that. If you want to start going through that and see what would be helpful. All right. So as we continue here, I have another video for us that's focused on, well, first we're going to focus on journaling. So we talked about journaling. It's a great way to keep goals. It's also a great way to just track, again, how much you've grown, how many things you have going on, the way that you're thinking, how to be grateful for the things that you have in your life. And I think also what do we do, right? When we're stressed out, we want to tell people, we want to vent, we call somebody and say, oh, this happened, the smallest inconvenience, right? I ordered a 10-piece, I got 8 pieces. Just those small things, like we want to vent and get out of our system. If you don't feel like you have anybody to do that with, journaling is a great way to just get some of those thoughts out, get some of those obstacles, some of those stressors out of your body. So even if it's not another person, it's down on paper, and that makes it a little easier to let some of those things go, right? To move on, because we've put it out there, it's in the universe. Okay, let's move forward, right? And then really that last one, right? What's the best thing that happened today? Finding and being intentional about looking for positive things that went on. Even if you've had a full day of chaos and disruption and frustration, just finding one small thing before you go to bed, one good thing that happened to me that I can fall asleep holding on to, that changes the way that your brain is able to process those moments. It means that right before you sleep, your brain is going to know we're going to go into positive, we're going to go into calming things, and then we're going to sleep. We're not going to go to bed with all the stress and the tension and the weight of the day on us. We're going to stop that, put a break to that in our minds, and switch our focus. So even in those small ways, it's really important. All right. So meditation, also go through this and see if this is helpful, if this is something that you would want to participate in.
We're going to start by using a relaxation technique called square breathing. We'll begin by moving to a space where there is little noise or distraction. If possible, find a seat to sit in comfortably. Now that we are comfortable, we'll start by taking in
I'm so sorry.
a long, deep breath, inhaling for 4 seconds. Count them out as you're breathing. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now hold your breath in for 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we exhale for 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now let's hold our breath out for 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now that we've completed the cycle, let's begin again. Breathe in for 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold for 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out for 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. And hold out for 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can repeat this process as many times as you need. Hopefully you'll notice that your heart rate has decreased and the anxiety has subsided.
So how is that? Is it helpful, unhelpful, peaceful? Okay. Relaxing, good, good. That's relaxing. Yeah, and the beauty of both of these videos is that you can do them literally anywhere, right? You can just take that. It's about the intention, right? Taking that time and being very intentional about it. I'm truly going to commit to this. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to do this for 5 minutes and that's it, right? Yeah, I see the presentation. Absolutely. You guys can have the presentation and the links to the videos. But these are all things that we don't think about when we're running around, when life seems chaotic, when things are busy, when we're constantly going here and having to think about this and having to plan for that. And where do we get? It just seems impossible. But if you take it in these small moments, if you start with these small moments, because sometimes they're like, oh, well, self-care is when you take a full day and you do this and you run here and you go shopping and you go to the spa and all of that. And while some of that can be true, absolutely, you can spend a whole day. Realistically, sometimes all you get is 5 minutes, right? Sometimes all you get is the drive home. And it's important to take advantage of those moments that you do have it, where you can commit to it. And we want to make sure that people are committing to things that they actually can do and not be unrealistic, because again, self-care should not overwhelm you. It should not take over. It should make you feel calm. It should feel good and peaceful. It's just about taking that time for yourself. Great. Okay, so endorphins, our last hormone here, are painkiller. And so one of the big things that people don't even realize, laughter Oh, so huge. It's so important and it's so easy, but we don't really think about it. But if you laugh, and we'll hear this later on, there's something called laughter yoga. But even if your laughter starts fake, your body doesn't know the difference. Your body does what your brain tells it to. So if you start laughing, your body will invoke all of the emotions as if you were truly having this hilarious moment, and you'll start to feel all of that. I think one of my best examples, this might be TMI, and if I see you out on the street, I'm so sorry. I have terrible road rage. Like, they probably shouldn't have given me a license, but they did. So here I am. But in that, right? So there are times, and I'm, like I said, I'm on procrastination station, so I'm late to almost everything. So it's that added pressure of, I'm late, I need to get there, and somebody decides to get in my lane, and sure, they may be driving the speed limit, but that's not what I need from you right now. I need more than the speed limit. So like, you're stressing me out, right? So let me tell kids this: you get to feel however you want to feel, right? Your feelings are never wrong. So if somebody were to say, oh, well, you're being dramatic, you shouldn't feel that way, that's not what they meant, then you should, 10 times out of 10, they're incorrect. You are the expert on yourself. You know your feelings. Nobody gets to tell you what you feel, not ever in life. They are always wrong. And it's important that people know that, because I think a lot of times, like, you shouldn't feel that way, that's not what they meant. And so we go into, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't have. However you feel, it's how you should have felt. That's how you felt. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But our behaviors, right? We don't get to behave however we feel just because we're in a bad mood. Like I said, sometimes we choose violence that morning, but reality is that's nobody's problem but ours, right? My mom used to love to say, I can't make you do anything. You're not a dog. I can't make you do anything. So when we say, oh, that person made me mad, the only way anybody is making you do anything is if you are giving them the power over you to allow for that, right? And sometimes it calls for it. There are people we care about, and we allow them to have power over us because that's the natural form of a relationship. That's what we do. And so they made me mad, but it has to come with the acknowledgement of you gave them the power to allow them to make you do anything. And so when we think about how we behave, it comes into play. So like, I have terrible road rage. That doesn't mean I get to just smash into the back of somebody's car because they decide to get in my lane. I could, but like, that has consequences. Actions have consequences. And that's why it's so important that how we behave, because nobody on this planet has to deal with the consequences of your actions, but you. Not really. Some people may have some indirect consequences to the choices you make, but really it's just you. So why would you allow anybody to have that power? Why would you allow anybody to have that control when you're the only one who has to deal with the consequences of those actions? And so when we talk about behaviors, I mean, tell kids this: you feel however you want to feel. If somebody tells you shouldn't feel that way, they are wrong. If somebody says you're being too dramatic, they are incorrect. You get to feel how you want to feel. How you behave, though, that has to shift, because we have laws, we have societal norms, and that's a part of how we live. But if you take those small minutes, and with that laughter, right? So I'm angry, I'm frustrated, you got in my lane, you slowed me down, I'm already late, I can't ram the back of your car. But when I take that moment, I have to start, like, I start disrespecting people, and that's how I know it's bad. Like, I'm like truly disrespecting them, disrespecting their ancestors, like calling people out of their name. I'm just doing too much. But in that moment, I'm just frustrated. So when I take a step back and I pause, and then I just start laughing, and if they're looking at me through their like rear view mirror, I probably look insane. They're probably like, we need to get out of this lane and away from her because she is dangerous, because I'm just hysterically laughing. And then at some point, I'm no longer upset. I'm just like, whoa, yeah, Danielle, you need to chill. Like, what was that? That's just so much going on. I'm also a very petty fighter, right? So I'll get upset and people are arguing with me, and I know the fastest, easiest way to make them upset is to laugh or to smile, but then I start laughing, and then all of a sudden I truly don't know why we're fighting anymore. I'm like, can we be done now? Of course, I've already angered them to a heightened level because I'm laughing in their face, and that's not great. But in those moments, I get to reflect about my actions and think back and say, okay, I have to apologize. I went too far. I did this, I did that. But in that small moment of laughter, it's completely changed my mood. I don't even understand why we're yelling at each other. Like, I think we need to just calm it down. I think we need to slow it down. So I think I didn't realize the power that laughter has in some of those small moments, but it really, really is important. It's so valuable. Of even if it starts fake, you just look at yourself in the mirror and you're having a bad day, and then you just start laughing. Even if it starts off fake. We all have been at like family functions where that person who thinks they're hilarious, they come over and talk to you and you're like, but if you actually put some energy in that and you start pushing it a little more, it becomes real. And all of a sudden they're the funniest person you've ever met. And okay, here we are, we're in it, we're in this moment. That can be really important. That can be so powerful. So laughter is huge. And we talk about, clean comedy. Yes, Tim Hawkins, if you didn't know, Kimberly knows clean comedy if you're looking for it. It's just important to laugh. It's important to take life less seriously, have a little fun. And even in those really hard moments where it feels like you shouldn't be laughing, just try it. Just give yourself a minute to try it and see how it shifts your mood. And I'm not saying, again, it's going to do a 180 on everything and you're just going to be like, oh my gosh, this feels so much better. But it just lightens that moment for you. It gives you some ease in that small way. So take some time, look at yourself in the mirror tonight, break out laughing, look at your kids. I'm sure they're funny. Whether it's they intentionally are it, or they're just comedy, just pure in and of their own way. I don't know what words I was trying to say just then. So, but just think through some of those things, how you can start to pull laughter into your everyday. Even if you don't feel it, even if it's not, your head is just not there, give it a try, because it does become real after a minute. If you really put your whole body into it. Dark chocolate, not a fan of it, but in those small moments when you need to feel some of those endorphins, it's incredible for it, right? Getting a massage, I got my first one ever, my 25th birthday. Incredible experience. I don't know how I've been living my life without it. But that was also paid for, so I probably won't be doing it again until the next birthday and somebody feels inclined to pay for it again. But those small things, right? Just being in a space and letting your body work through everything. And that's what massages are. They work through all of those kinks, all of those bundles of stress that you're carrying around physically. That's what it's for. Essential oils are huge. Have those diffusers. They're always nice. Eucalyptus oils, lavender, peppermint was my favorite when I had one. You just bring that calming sense, right? We all want to feel that calm, or to just feel, present in where we are. All right. So we're going to hear this about laughter yoga. I think this always changes based off the audience. I think this is funny watching high schoolers watch it because they think it's so cringy and like, gross. So it's funny to see their expressions, but I always love how people react to watching this video, because it is sort of interesting. So
hello, I'm Kara with Laughter Yoga Together. Laughter yoga is a form of exercise that combines unconditional laughing with deep yogic breathing and results in extensive health benefits. With laughter yoga, anyone can laugh for the health of it without the need for humor, jokes, or comedy. Laughter is initially simulated as a physical exercise and soon becomes contagious and natural. Scientifically, your body cannot tell the difference between spontaneous and self-induced laughter. So you still get all the same physical, mental, and emotional health benefits from laughter yoga exercise, even if your laughter is initially faked. Laughter yoga was created in 1995 by a medical doctor from Mumbai, India, named Dr. Madan Kataria, and his wife, Madhuri, who is a yoga instructor. Today, you will find laughter clubs in over 100 countries around the world. So now you might be wondering, what are these health benefits that you can gain from regular participation in laughter yoga? Well, it increases endorphins, elevates mood and contentment, reduces pain, decreases cortisol, reduces stress, helps with depression and anxiety, increases oxygen, and stimulates the lungs. It increases energy, stamina, motivation, and productivity. It relaxes muscles and tension, regulates blood pressure, improves heart function, boosts the circulatory system, boosts the immune system, releases dopamine, improves mental functions like alertness, memory, and creativity, promotes relaxation throughout the body after a session, and it helps create a positive, resilient mental state. And that, my friends, is no laughing matter. So now you might be wondering, how can you participate in laughter yoga?
And she starts endorsing herself, and we don't need that. So just some of those small ways, right? We don't think of laughter like that, but again, if you know some places that are yoga, maybe they have laughter yoga, and that's really fun. I did yoga in college. It's a choice. Some people are good at it. Some people naturally just aren't meant to bend in certain ways. I truly believe that. And so it all comes with whatever you're interested in. Laughter itself is powerful. The yoga doesn't have to be a part of it, but if you are interested in it, there are so many different places in town. There are so many different communities that you can become a part of that encourages laughter yoga and hot yoga and all these different things. So it's interesting, and it's good to look into what resources are in the community as well. So, nope, maybe my button won't work here. Maybe now it will. There we go. Okay. Oh, I got too far. So containment mindfulness exercise. The way that this works, and I'm gonna get out of stop sharing my screen for this part. So when we talk about containment mindfulness exercise, you envision a container, right? However, whether it's plasticware, I don't know if this is a thing, but whatever container you think fits. And in this container, you put in all the different things that your body, how it's racing, right? All the different thoughts that we're having. You're acknowledging them in that moment and saying, yep, I see that, I feel that, I'm experiencing in that, but you put them in the container, right? And it's a way to just separate. And it's a good way if you think about work life or work home balance. If you're driving home from work, and naturally we all think, oh, what do I need to do tomorrow? What does this look like? What do I have to do? Who do I have to reach out to? What do I have to do? Even if you're on a committee for something, if you volunteer, if you anything you do out in the external world, you carry some of those things with you every day. And so it's about imagining that container, just thinking it through and putting those things in it. Yep, I do need to get that done, but I'm going to put it in the container. I do have to call that person, but I'm going to put it in the container. I do need to write that up if it's something for school or whatever that looks like. You acknowledge those thoughts. Yes, they do need to get done. I do feel that way about them. You put them in a container and you push it aside, and you really focus on where you're at. And I think that's really important. It's hard for a lot of us to do, is to really sit down and compartmentalize this. I'm at home, and who I need to be at home is not who I don't need to bring all of the things from the external world with me. So putting those things in that container, acknowledging that they're there, but you will deal with them later. And that's just another form of that mindfulness of, I'm here, I'm present, but the things that pop up that want to pull my presence a different direction, I'm going to put in the container. And we're going to put that aside and wait till tomorrow or whenever the next time is that you need to pull things out of it. So it's saying, I'll deal with it, but now is not the time to deal with it. And that's something else that's really hard for us to do. Any other thoughts of different mindfulness experiences that you've had, or things that you've tried that were helpful that you would want to share with the group? Or meditation wise, anything?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hey, so it's Karuna here. Yeah, I love the focus of the peace and the rest and the like the God designed mindfulness and laughter and all that. I think it's just, and the breathing, so needed.
Yes.
So I think getting down to those roots and basics of what God's given us is so helpful. I would like to just add a little caveat onto that. Just coming from a Hindu background myself, generationally and otherwise, the yoga part, I know it can be complicated for people, but I think that's an area that maybe has gotten a little bit mixed into some of those original good things that God gave us in the first place, because yoga is based on the Hindu scriptures and channeling those original entities and partnering with them. So that's the root. Most people don't know that. But so that's just one thing that was just on my heart to say, like, yeah, because I've had clients as a counselor who have done mindfulness and it's gone too far into some of those open doors, and then it's caused greater stress. So just from my own background, I mean, I have relatives that are, have been very experienced in all of that and even helped develop some of those things. So I just want to put that out there too. I think it's so good that you're bringing out these key mindfulness, relaxation, breathing. We are to realign with God's peace and how he designed us. So thank you for that. I just wanted to share that.
That is great. Thank you. And you might be a resource for other parents that are looking for ideas and ways to get engaged. So that would be great if you are willing to
happy to help if I can.
Yeah. Well, if again, don't overextend the help. If it feels good, then it's good. If it's not, then it's not. But that is great. Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, so it's just about, it's all things that we have within us, right? All of this are things that we already have been gifted with, already have been given, that we use for one occasion or the other, but it's about putting that intention behind it, right? We're all observant. As parents, I'm assuming you have to be hyper observant of where are my kids at? What are they doing? Who's holding what? Who's grabbing this? Who's touching that? You already have to do all these things. It's just about focusing on yourself and really making sure that you are able to take care of yourself in those moments. Want to read what else? We still have a little bit left, so don't read me just yet. Daily mindfulness journal, yes. Podcasts are great. Self-care Mondays, yes. Ice baths, that I've heard. I've tried the cold shower thing every morning. I know it makes you alert and it's there for you and it's good. I just love taking up the hot water in my house from everybody else, apparently. Stay away from everything like yoga and mindfulness because too many teachers take it a whole other direction. Yeah, that's important that you're preserving your energy and not putting things into, not letting anything become a negative, right? And there are a lot of people who have a lot of ideas about how certain things should be done. But if they don't feel right and they don't fit, then they don't fit. And it's important that you don't push yourself in a way that is harmful to you and your values. Recovering, overextend the help. Yes, recovering. We like that. We want to help people, but not at our own expense. Reprocessing therapy. Thank you, Heather, for explaining that. I appreciate it. Yeah, all of these are great. Okay, so I am going to reshare my screen here. So I want to hear from you, and I'm about to stop sharing it. I want to hear from you all about what is one thing that you would like to put in your resiliency toolbox. What is one way you want to start building those self-care activities and helping yourself in some of those overwhelmingly stressful moments? So if you want to throw it in the chat or say it out. To be quiet. Okay. Take time for yourself. Yeah, silence is really important. I think that one's funny because my sister is very talkative and we are moving in together. And so she's like, there are going to be times where you're going to have to talk to me. and I'm going to make you talk to me, and we're going to discuss things. And I'm just like, you'll have to find me first. So there are times where silence is really important. Absolutely. Take it a day at a time. Yeah, absolutely. Taking it a day at a time. And sometimes you have to break it down smaller than that, right? Sometimes it's the next 60 seconds. What do I need to do in this next 60 seconds to keep me moving forward? And then the 60 seconds after that, and then the 60 seconds after that, how do I continue to pull myself forward? Absolutely. To make lists and actually do them. Yeah, commit to those. Absolutely. Being mindful and grateful is huge. Yep. Journaling more. Yes. Taking time for yourself. Listen to some comedy podcasts. Absolutely. Continue exercise. Taking time to exercise. Yes.
Creating a podcast.
Oh, Father, hello. Creating a podcast. Absolutely. I know my family is going to be spying on me. Great. Journal, poetry, praying. Yeah, absolutely. Prayer, exercise. Few minutes, take a breath. Yes. Yeah. And the hope is that as you continue to do these things, right? We want to, everybody thinks, oh, when I'm having a hard moment, I should dig into self-care. No, when you're at your best, you should be doing self-care, right? When everything is going great and there are no problems, you should be doing self-care, because then it becomes normal. Then it becomes rehearsed, and it becomes more of an instinct than something you have to really think, and what am I going to do? How am I going to figure this out? It becomes natural, and you start leaning into those things naturally. And then you don't even have to like, oh, I really need to take time for myself. You've already been doing it. You're naturally leaning into it. It becomes regular. So when you make it commonplace, it's important that you practice these things regularly. You're doing them at the best when you're at the top of your game, because when you do it at the top of your game, you're better preparing yourself to handle things when you're in the trenches, when you're dealing with everything, when nothing is going your way, and you naturally lean into them, and it becomes just what we do. And we know that if you're taking care of yourself, when those challenges come in life, taking care of yourself, self-care, lessens the impact of how some of those challenges hit you, because you're thinking things through differently. You have a different perspective. You already have things in place to take care of yourself, and it lessens the impact of whatever that obstacle, whatever that challenge looks like. And because of that, the recovery time that it takes to get back on your feet and get things moving back to the way they're supposed to be moving is less. You need less to recover from, because you were prepared and you already had this in play. You already had this in motion. And so that's really important. All of this is just to help you get back on your feet better. You can spring back into it. It's like thinking about, the exercise, right? That exercise piece of it. If you're on a trampoline and you're jumping and you continue to go higher and higher, when you slip up and you fall or you don't land right, you land on the trampoline, you still go up. And it's about that momentum of continuing to promote that self-care, because in those lower moments, you get less time. You need less time to recover. It takes less of a toll on you because you've already been taking care of yourself, and it's not as great as a hit. Yeah, singing, love that. Trusting God has my very best in mind. Yep. A good trip to self-care. Yes. I go on a lot of random road trips. It's a bit of an expensive habit nowadays. But when there are times I think I'm supposed to be going home from work, and then I end up on the border of New Mexico, and I'm like, oh, I guess I got to turn around and come back. But all that time I wasn't thinking about, oh my gosh, I'm so far out. I'm thinking about, oh, look at the scenery. Look how nice it is. I'm calm. I'm listening to my true crime podcast. I'm very much the person that drives down dark, desolate highways listening about serial killers. May not be everybody's thing, but I find it incredibly calming for some reason. I'm like, wow, think about all the things that could have happened on this road. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to anybody else. It makes perfect sense to me. But all of those pieces are really important. Yeah. Thank you all for sharing. Okay, let me get back into this. So as we go through this again, it's important that whatever makes sense for you makes sense for you. But the reality is there are days when you just can't do it for yourself, right? There are days when I'm not going to be able to work this out. I was diagnosed with depression in college. And when I first got that, I was like, oh, so this means I'm just going to be like sad my whole life. Like this is just it. We're just going to be sad, and there's nothing that anybody's going to be able to do to stop it, and I'm just going to be here. And that's how it can feel when you get some of those diagnoses and when you hear some of those things. But reality is, I still am able to be at the top of my mental health game. I'm still able to have my optimal mental health. My life just may look a little different than everybody else's. I may have to do different things during different times that support me in things that other people don't have to do. But all in all, I can still be at the best of my game. I can still have that live, laugh, love. I can still engage in all of those things and enjoy life fully. It just may look a little different, a little more. And I may need a little support other times. And while hacking hormones is good because you see how you can start to show up for yourself, it also can be incredibly difficult because sometimes you just can't show up for yourself in that way. And so it's good to know what resources are there. And so all of these are Diversus Health Services. We also just rolled out our same-day access program. And so we're trying to get people in. We know it's a huge issue. Somebody wants to get help right then in that moment. And then, oh, well, we can schedule you 6 months out. We can schedule 3 months out. It just turns people completely away from mental health. It's like, well, I tried and I really wanted to do this, and a door was slammed in my face, or I have to wait in line. And that's a huge deterrent to people actually getting the help that they need. And so Diversus Health are really trying to make that not an issue. We're trying to take away that barrier, because we know all the other barriers that people come across and people face when they're looking for mental health services. And we want the last barrier to be, you're not going to get the help when you need it. We want it to be right there in that moment. We're going to get you set up. We're going to get you talking to somebody because we know how important those small moments are. We know how important that first step is, and we want to be there to support people through that. So our 4 main pillars are counseling, crisis, psychiatric, and substance use. We also have a walk-in crisis center. It's open 24/7 all year round. So if you or someone you know is struggling and they just need to have a conversation, they deal with everything from I'm stressed and I'm overwhelmed and I need to get some of these things out to suicidal ideations. I'm feeling hopeless. I'm feeling my situation has no up. My life just doesn't seem worth it. Nothing is going my way. I'm a burden, whatever that looks like, whatever those internal thoughts are. They have conversations around that as well. And so again, it's open 24/7. Whenever you need it, we want to be there. We want to support you through that. We also have that crisis line. So the number is 988, which we want to make it easier, right? 988, 911. You call, it's a crisis line. They have a warm line and a crisis line, so you don't have to be in crisis when you call, but it could just be, I'm struggling through this and I just want some information, some coaching, and that's a licensed professional that can offer that. The only thing with that I will say is they're still they started it last year and they're still working out the geolocation. So if you have somebody that's moved here and doesn't have like a Colorado area code, it'll send them to whatever crisis center their area code is. So if they're from Tennessee, it'll send them to a crisis center in Tennessee, and eventually it'll get you back. But they're hoping to figure out the geolocation services, like similar to 911, wherever you call, it goes to whichever tower you're closest to, but they're still working on that. And so that 844 number is just the Colorado crisis line. If you want to encourage people to use that as well. And then that text to talk is really important. We see that for our young people. We know they want to talk, they want to text, that's fine. We want to provide them that resource, right? They're texting a licensed professional. They're not texting a friend or a stranger they met online. It is a licensed professional, and all they'll ask them is their area code so they know what resources are around them, and then their age, because it's a different conversation for a 45-year-old than it is for a 14-year-old. And they won't ask for any further information unless there is serious risk of them harming themselves or someone else. But other than that, we tell kids, you've had strangers, they've come up to you, they've spilled out their whole life story, right? And you're like, all I asked was how your day was. And I was expecting the generic good, and we can keep it moving. But somebody has decided to just share their whole experience, their whole life journey with me. And sometimes I have that a lot. My family jokes about it. I talk, and as introverted as I am, it's incredible. But my parents taught me to be polite for some reason. So I ask, hi, how are you? And that opens a window, and people sometimes take that window. But it's still, I might have been the only person that talked to them that day. I might have been the only person that acknowledged them that day. And that's huge. And we want to give people those moments because they get to vent and say whatever they need to say, get it all off their chest. And then you don't have to worry about oh, who are they going to tell? Who's this information going to get back to? Who's going to know my business? Because we're absolute strangers. I'm not going to look for you. If I'm honest, I don't know you. I don't need to find you. And that's the same way this text line works, right? It's anonymous. You get to say whatever you need to say to, especially to the people around you. We have expectations. We have relationships that don't allow us to share all the things that we really want to share or need to share. And this is a way for people to, let me say what I need to say. Let me get this off my chest and see how it lands. And it's an objective opinion. They don't have any opinion of you because they don't know you. They don't have a relationship with you. So you can really say whatever is on your mind and whatever you need to say that you might be afraid of saying to the people closest to you. So we really encourage that as well. And then this just talks more about extra support if you're struggling with stress, anxiety. We have a lot of different things that my team does, or things like this. We also offer like adult mental health first aid for people to be able to understand. And it is that first aid piece, right? This should be a part of everybody's conversation. Everybody should have this information because this is how we better support each other. This is how we normalize mental health. This is how we normalize not always being okay and feeling stressed and feeling overwhelmed and not knowing how to deal with those things. And so we want people to have that information. So if you're interested in any of the trainings that we offer to learn more about mental health and how to have some of these conversations, absolutely, Melissa can take your information, send it over to me, and I can get you connected with whatever you're looking for, because we really want this to be it's everybody's business. It has to be. You all are the experts on your family, on your friends, on your loved ones, right? No mental health professional could walk in and say, seems like you're struggling. Is that right? Am I right? They don't know you. They don't, but you know how you maneuver through the world. You know how the people you love maneuver through this world. And when you notice something is off, it's important that you trust yourself and saying, yeah, my spidey senses are right. I'm not being dramatic. I'm not looking too much into it. They're not doing what they normally do. They're not acting how they normally would act. So how do I start a conversation with them? How do I open up that dialogue to be able to ask them what they need and what that support looks like, and be a support system and helpful for them with the resources I provide and the types of conversations we're able to have. So we really want people, especially parents, to be equipped with that, because youth are going through things, whether it's puberty, we all know this. And because we all see the other side of it, it's easy for us to say, oh, you'll get over this. You'll be okay. You'll be fine. But reality is, they can't see that. And it's unfair of us to say that because they're in it in that moment. And to say, oh, you'll move on. How did it feel when somebody said that to you? It's like, but I'm not moving on right now. Like, I still have to go to school and see these people and do these things and be a part of this. So it's important that we don't dismiss some feelings because we know they'll pass or whatever it looks like, because reality is, I didn't grow up the way that kids nowadays are growing up. I didn't experience some of the things that kids nowadays are experiencing. And to say that I understand or that I'm fully confident in the fact that you'll move on from this, it's unfair and it's unrealistic of them to be okay with that answer, because they're in it at this moment. And if they need support, then how do we offer that? And how do we have those conversations? And how do we distinguish normal youth development behavior from abnormal? Like, this is not normal. This is not something that they should be experiencing. This is not something that just goes in with their development. Anxiety, signs of anxiety can start at age 11. Somebody could have their first schizophrenic episode, a manic episode, by the age of 15. So somebody could have their first break with reality, be experiencing hallucinations, delusions by the age of 15. And so when we know those things and we're seeing those things, it's important that we don't just ignore them and just say, oh, well, it's normal and they're going to grow out of it, because sometimes they don't. And it's important to acknowledge that and be okay with acknowledging that, because it doesn't mean anything is wrong with your parenting. It doesn't mean, oh, we did something. A lot of times people think trauma and that's why they're like that and must have done something wrong. It can be quite the opposite. It's just life. And it's just the way their brain works. And sometimes brains don't work the way other brains work. And we have to figure out how to adjust to that and work through that. And it's 8 o'clock and I want you guys to have your time. So I have this one last thing for you. I hope it brings you some laughter. I hope it brings you some joy. I hope, and I have a poll for you if you all will answer that for me after this, but I just really hope this was helpful in some sort of way. Again, I'm not a parent. I'm probably the concern for my parents. And so I really hope that this, in some way, you find a way that you want to take care of yourself and really dive into this, because your kids are, they can be successful and that's great, but you want to feel that success. You want to be a part of that success and be happy about it and be able to experience it in a good way, in a positive way. And you can't do that if the weight of the world is on your shoulders. So really be intentional and take some time for yourself, because you all make the world what it is because of all that you do. And it's important that you acknowledge that and recognize that for yourselves. Okay.
Hi, everybody. It's Paul. You know, a lot of people ask me after a long day of voiceover or writing or doing all those creative things that I do, how do I relax? Well, like many other Americans, I come home and I pet my dog. You see, petting your dog is one of the most relaxing things you can possibly do. It releases a hormone called oxytocin, which reduces stress. Also, it lowers your heart rate and it lowers your blood pressure. Plus, people who pet their dogs are 5 times more likely to live longer than people who just have cats. Plus, the dogs like it so much, and it's a nice bonding experience. That's right. Good daddy's little boy. Daddy's little boy. Daddy's little boy. That's right. Okay, we're done.
Okay, and I have one more poll for you, and then I will set you all free. Not like I'm holding you hostage, but I'd appreciate it if you stuck around for one more thing. Let me get this out.
She's definitely holding you hostage. You cannot leave until we dismiss you.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't even run this. I'm just a figurehead here. Give me 1 second. I'm just trying to type and do things at the same time. And multitasking is not real, which I've learned recently. It's not a real thing. Our brain just switches back and forth really fast. So some people, they say, my top skill, I can multitask. It's not true. And all right, so I just have 2 questions for you. And that is all. Thank you all for participating. I really hope this was helpful, but be honest, if it wasn't, it wasn't. This is the only way we know how to change our material and continue to adapt and grow, is feedback from you all. So I will send this out to you. Session is inactive. Oh no, my polling is inactive. I'm concerned. Okay, so we're just going to pretend this the other way. So if you found this presentation helpful, can you give me a thumbs up in the chat? If you found it unhelpful, give me a thumbs down. And then you have a new tool in your resiliency toolbox, a thumbs up or not, a thumbs down. Oh, I won't let me pull up that sound. I'm seeing thumbs up, I'm seeing good things. Good things, good things. Okay, great. Yes, 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 yay. Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you all so much. I really appreciate it. I always love doing this. I want to be as helpful as possible to people. And this is one of the ways I get to do that. So I hope that whatever you need to do to take care of yourself, you all are engaging in those things, especially doing it after this session. Tell the kids to get away, go in a room, be quiet, sit down, whatever you need. But really to take care of yourself, because the only way us kids are able to be great is because of all that you do. And we aren't able to realize that until we get a little older and we see what adulthood is all about. But I really I encourage you all to take time for yourself and really think about that and how important it is. All right, well, that is it. I don't know if there's anything else you all need to do, but thank you all for participating. I appreciate it. And I will send the presentation to Melissa so she will have it to share with you all for those videos and anything else you want.
Thank you so much, Danielle. That was